it's Kristen. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about language learning and travel. I have been on a journey lately to study both Japanese and Spanish at the same time. I do have much more of a base in Japanese, and I'm just now starting Spanish, but as you may well know, Spanish is much easier for an English speaker to learn than Japanese is. I'm still a beginner though, but I have noticed some very interesting and kind of fun differences between the languages. If you are thinking about studying one of these languages and don't really know what you should start with or what you're getting yourself into. So I want to point out a couple of differences between the two languages that is just kind of fun and interesting to know. So my Japanese is much better than my Spanish. However, when I listen to Japanese music, I cannot understand what they're saying. But when I listen to Spanish music, sometimes I can piece it together. So for instance, my favorite song in Spanish is El Camino by Alvaro Soler. I know this song by heart. I can sing this song. I know pretty much all of the vocabulary words that are in this song, and that has helped me to learn some more Spanish. But for me, what I've found is I can't really do the same thing with Japanese songs, even if I tried to. What ends up happening is I wind up learning a bunch of vocabulary words and phrases that are just not said in everyday life. Japanese music, I think, tends to be more poetic and metaphorical, whereas Spanish songs, especially like your club songs, you know, they tend to be more literal or things you would actually hear in everyday life or TV shows. Another thing I've noticed, which is interesting and a little bit frustrating, is that some simple phrases in Spanish are advanced phrases in Japanese. For example, the phrase, "she wants to go shopping," in Spanish is "ella quiere ir de compras." To be able to say this sentence, you need to know the vocabulary words, but then also you need to know how to use de, and you need to know how to conjugate the verb, and that's about it. But in Japanese, the right way to say this is "kanojo wa kaimono ni ikitagateru." In order to say this phrase, you need to know all of the vocab. You need to know how to use the particle wa and ni. You need to know how to conjugate the verb for go into wanting to go. So from iku to ikitai. Then you need to know how to conjugate that into someone else's want, which is ikitagaru. Then you also need to know the te iru form of verbs, all to get ikitagateru. So that was a long-winded example, but there are many more examples of this. That's not to say, though, that there are some things in Spanish that are more difficult or complicated than Japanese. For instance, Japanese does not have noun genders. I find this so incredibly out of my comfort zone to have to memorize every single gender of every single noun. It is frustrating and something that I'm not familiar with because I have only just started learning Spanish and I don't speak any other Romance languages. But that's not to say that I dislike it, because I do find that that's one of the things that makes Spanish roll off the tongue the way it does. Another thing that I'm used to now, but I think everyone struggles with in the beginning, is particles in Japanese. As an English speaker, it's an entirely foreign concept, and it takes a lot to get used to it, but you can get used to it. Spanish, I think, actually has a couple of things that are a little bit similar, but it's certainly not to the degree of Japanese. Another thing that I find frustrating / annoying about Japanese is that you need to know different counters for different things that you're counting. So for example, counting books, you have to add hon at the end. Counting trees is ki. There's a million different other ones too. And then there's also your standard counters, hitotsu, futatsu, mitsu, etc. Ichi, ni, san, shi. So I struggle with counters. I don't know all of them. I don't think I can count very high in some of the more lesser used ones. It's just a struggle for me. But I mean, there's always going to be something about a language that is just completely out of your comfort zone, or something you just never really thought about before, like a way to express something that's just not the way we English speakers think. But that's part of the reason that I love languages, and it really opens your mind to different ways of thinking and helps you to really understand a culture from a deeper level. So these were just my observations from studying Japanese for a long time and only having just started Spanish. Once I get a little bit farther into Spanish, maybe I will make an updated version of this. But for now, those are my biggest standout differences. I hope this didn't scare anyone away from learning either of these languages though, because struggling through these things and getting to a place where you understand them and appreciate them is all part of the language learning journey, and it's really a wonderful part of it. So I encourage you, if you are thinking about learning either of these languages, or if you are learning either of these languages, go for it, keep going. It is so rewarding, and I will be here cheering you on. So leave any comments or questions down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.